Hello, everyone. A very good evening to everybody. A warm welcome to everyone on the SHN Talk Show. We are super glad to have you here. And just like every single week, we have a new guest with us today. And super excited because he has a background that is different from most of the speakers, and in fact, everybody that we've had so far. So, as like you all know, this is what we do, and we introduce you to the strong humans in and around us who've learned so many life lessons, and they're here to share their own personal and professional experiences, and they are the right people who can help us become much more stronger and a stronger human being. So if this is something that resonates with you, then we would love to, have you go on our social media channels and follow us and subscribe to us and just be in touch with us. I am April Strong. I am the talk show host at Strong Human Network. I'm also a career coach. I'm a TEDx speaker. As a coach, I help working women professionals 10x their personal and professional successes. Now, when it comes to being a strong human, I guess all of us have a slightly different definition of who a strong human is. At SHN, we have five such categories that we believe are an integral part of what makes an individual truly a strong human. The first one being self-confidence. I think if you can wear your confidence, that conquers a lot of things for you in life. Second comes being a better version of yourself. I think if we can compare ourselves only with ourselves and just think about being better than we were yesterday, I think that's a huge leap to move forward. When it comes to self awareness, I think this is another attribute when if you could do it every week, everybody has a schedule of self-awareness, you could do it every night and think about where you are and which direction you want to move. I think that's again what would make you a strong human being. Then comes emotional intelligence. I think we would all agree that today we lack emotional intelligence, because of which we are not doing very well in our relationships, whether it is friendships, relationships with your partner, or even your work relationships. Then comes worldly knowledge and trends about what's going on around you. Imagine if you knew what was going on in and around you. That is knowledge that you can impart to others, and you can make a difference in the world by just sharing your views with someone who might not be aware about it. So, like I said, if this resonates with you, then you could request a membership on our website. And towards the end of the show, I will share my screen and tell you how you could do that. And just like I said, every single episode, we bring the best people to share their valuable insights and experiences with us. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Guru Pashupati. He's commonly known as Ashwin Mohan. He is a direct student of the immortal Guru, Yogi Guru, Mahavatar Babaji. At 32 is when he decided to become a direct student of his. He lived with his guru in the Himalayan caves of Nepal and India for about 18 months, and he was learning the immortal yoga. Guru Pashupati holds the Parampara Adhikara, or the lineage authority, to channelize and transmit lessons from the six authentic yoga schools of immortality, which is Agura, Nata, Giri, Siddha, Vajra, and Nada. Guru Pashupati is a co-founder of one of the fastest growing startups, Yogi Lifestyle Academy, and the Yogi Siddhi method of healing chronic physical and mental illnesses. He and his team have healed more than 2,000 people from chronic health conditions using yogic and scientific principles. He is also a popular speaker. He's invited to speak twice on TEDx and once on Josh Talks. He and his team have trained over 13 million children in safety and self-defense through the central government. I think, that's about it. And I would love to know a lot more about him from him. So, Guru Pashupati, if you could come on camera. Hello.
Hi, April.
I'm so glad to have you here.
Glad to be here
Your
too.
actually your background was so exciting, and I wanted to let me just change my background here. So when I was reading through your profile, it was so interesting, and I had so many questions, and I was thinking, should I ask him now or during the interview? And I was like, and I couldn't really find the time to connect with you before the call, so I'm pretty excited about this. So yeah, before we start, is there something that you would want to share?
Oh, I just want to say thanks for inviting me and really looking forward to answering these questions.
Awesome, awesome. So, tell me something about, your what made you decide to go in that journey of living in the Himalayas and, taking that kind of a step, taking that leap. I believe before that you must have lived a regular life, and what made you do that?
Well, I had a very special childhood because my dad was very deeply into spirituality,
Mhm.
and he would try everything that was in vogue at that time. So in my house, it was full of books of Osho and uh, all these Krishnamurtis, UG Krishnamurti, and a whole lot of people who I found were the most confident human beings that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Okay.
I didn't know why the people who were teaching me at school were not so confident. And I
Mm.
didn't know why the adults around me were not so confident. But these people, when you read their books, and that time there was no YouTube.
Mm.
So we had to read books, and in the book, you would imagine what the person would be like, what it would be like to actually sit there and listen to them because it's their thoughts in the
Right.
book. And I would get lost in that world, and I would like somewhere I started to believe that only a spiritual life is worth it because of the direct connection and and deep conviction that these people had about what they were saying, whether they were saying right or wrong, and that all that is up for debate. But what I
Mm.
admired about spiritual people is their ability to have no conflict within themselves. So that was something I wanted for myself. So I thought like when I grow up, I want to always have no conflict within myself. I want to be free. And although life took different turns for me,
Mhm.
I ended up becoming an entrepreneur at the age of 13. And
Oh my God.
things were very different back then because there was just no way to market. You had to go door to door and make sales. I used to sell UPS, and that's what we used to do. At 13, me and my friends would go into shops and ask them, how much money are you losing because of power cuts? And they would be like, no, I never calculated it. And then we'd calculate it, and the price would always be less than that of our UPS, and we make a sale. So we started making so much money, more money than our parents. We didn't know what to do with it.
Oh
And
my God. Are
uh,
you serious? This is
yeah.
exciting. Wow.
There's nobody to guide us. So I just did that, and I just did, and I realized that going to school is slowing me down. So I just stopped going to school, and
Oh
then,
my God.
but of course,
Wow.
I went for the exams and stuff. I am educated, but I really felt that I could put better use. I could make better use of my time than attending schools. So I missed all of the indoctrination about how to live. We get
Okay.
indoctrinated in schools.
Right.
We get told what the outside world is like instead of actually letting us experience the outside world. They tell us about it, and what they tell us is scary
Mm.
and very limiting, I thought. So because I got to know from my friends who were attending school, I'm like, oh, this is what they said today. I'm like, but that's not how
Ah,
the world is. That's not
oh,
really true. It's not so hard. I started thinking differently from people even when I was young. And over a period of time, I think it was inevitable that I ran out of stuff to learn here. So by the time I was 18,
wow.
I was really so sick and tired of just doing the same things. And for me, meaning became more important. I need to do something meaningful. Otherwise, survival is not my thing. I mean, I'm good at it. I'm very good at it. I can survive. You throw me anywhere, even if I don't know the language, I'll learn it and I'll do something. I'll survive. So yeah, that's interesting. can I have a bigger problem? Is what I was asking the universe. And then just then I got my teacher, and he told me, you can't learn this now. You're just 18. So I'm like, what? Come on, I'm 18. And he's like, no, you're just 18. So you need to understand things. You need to understand relationships. I'm like, really? You have to go through this? And he said, yes, you do. So I went through it like anything else. I said, okay, if this guy says so, it must be true. And I went through it, and I didn't know who he was at that time. And then he came back for me when I was 32. I had gotten married, and my marriage was broken. And I was sitting in Varanasi after having done the death rites of two of my close relatives. I was sitting at Varanasi, Manikarnika Ghat, when he came back again. And me, I'm full of theory. I'm full of knowledge. I mean, I'm full of bookish knowledge, because at this point I've attempted to study the Vedas, and I've done this and I've done that. And he told me, just empty your cup. It was hard because I had learned too much. So, but eventually he told me, he told me, just like, drop it now. And then I dropped it. And then he said, just follow me. And I followed him. And he started walking. I started walking. And we reached Nepal, all the way walking from Varanasi. It took a long time, but we were in Nepal, and we reached his cave where he lives. And then I stayed there for some time. I lived the life of Himalayan monk, which is like, I'm living my dream. This is what I
Oh my
wanted to do.
God.
But then very soon, Babaji said, are you happy? I said, yeah, I'm very happy. He said, okay, then you go back and spread that happiness. I'm like, what?
My God.
That was a shocker. I didn't know I had to come back here. So he sent me back here, and I was so maladjusted that I couldn't take it. I didn't know where to go. Everything was jarring for me. The way people lived, the stuff they ate, the conversations they had. I was like, oh my God, I just got away from all this. And here I am back in the thick of it, you know. But this time it was from a different perspective. And I thought my meaning, the meaning that I was so seeking, is here. It's in the suffering of people. I've really got to create something where they have a choice. Okay. If someone chooses to suffer, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I think they have an absolute right to choose to suffer if they want to. And I support it, and I will be the first person to tell them, I love you, I support you, go for it. Because you have to suffer. If you don't suffer, you don't know the value of not suffering. So when people are tired of it, I want them to have a choice.
Right.
And that's it. If you want a choice, then you come to me. I'll give you that choice, because it's based on like deep-rooted understanding of how we are built, who we are really. Because who are you? When people ask you, who are you, then you either say your profession, or you say your name, or you say a relationship, like I'm this person's son and this person's daughter, or whatever, or husband or wife. And we create fake identities for ourselves. Because the truth of the matter is, as taught in yoga, so you can never be known. Like a camera can't take a picture of itself. Whatever the camera is seeing, whatever the camera is seeing is outside of itself. So whatever you make about yourself, if somebody else tells you you're an ugly person and you're no good and you're terrible, and whatever they tell you, that's their vision of you, and they're showing it to you, and you can see it, but that's not you, because you can see it, because you can picture it in your mind. So your mind is like a camera, and whatever it can picture is definitely not it. So when you understand this deep truth, it's so relieving that you don't have to own any of the praise and none of the blame that has been thrown on you in your life. And even praise is a burden, because people expect you to live up to a particular behavior of which they saw you last time. You might have outgrown that behavior and you might have become better than that, but they will not like that. They want you to be predictable and who you are. So when a person is constantly evolving, they're constantly changing. Their opinion is changing. One day they're vegan and the next day they're like, no, I don't think so. And so then people are like, wow, you told me that you're vegan and you'll be vegan forever. And people get upset.
Right.
When somebody's evolving, they're understanding things at a higher rate than everybody else around them. So that's a very scary place to be in. And when you know that you have chosen to evolve, to become better, then it's very important to remember that you're not any of the things that you were, that people say you were, or you think you were. If you can think you're something, you're not that. And that's called neti. It's a na iti. Okay, it's two Sanskrit words, na iti, which comes together to form the word neti, and it's a very important word. I remember this all the time. So somebody praises you, you say neti, and you say I'm not that. And
Oh,
somebody criticizes you, you say neti, I'm not that. And
okay.
and then you realize, man, I can always be like relaxed,
Hmm. Hmm.
peaceful, internally undisturbed.
Wow.
No, without conflict internally. And you may have external conflicts, but really you're not at internal conflict with having the external conflict. You will go all out. Even if you're slapping someone, you do it with all your heart. So whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
The way you're attached to it internally is what is called raga in yoga, and to get rid of that raga is called vairagya.
Hmm.
When you become a vairagi, you're no longer attached to any definition of yourself, and you just accept the fact that you cannot be defined, and you're comfortable with that non-definition, and now you're so free. You can do whatever you want. You can be
Hmm.
within physical boundaries, which
Right.
is cool, right? We have boundaries. Like I can't walk out of India however I want, even though I did. I walked to Nepal, but that's you can't just cross a border, right? I can't just go to Pakistan or go to Sri Lanka. I need a visa. I need proper permissions. They're going to check my luggage. They're going to check my body even. So
Right.
we're not at liberty physically, but that's
Right.
okay. Our mind can never be caught.
Correct.
You
Correct.
might be like, I have responsibilities. I wake up in the morning and I have to cook for the entire Akhada. I make sure that I cook because I want to put my energy
Wow.
into it. So then that means buying groceries, talking to my sous chef and getting everything done and prepared and right. And then me coming in with my highest concentration and saying, this food is going to become the body of people. So it's going to be beautiful. And then I put my soul into that food, right? So I have responsibilities, but I'm doing it so with so much meaning that I don't feel that this is bondage. I don't feel that this is limiting. Through
Right.
that activity, through the limitations that I have, I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually experiencing a boundless self that can make life meaningful and make me happy. And I'm trying to teach this to people. And lately, I've been succeeding. I think it's because of the white beard, because I've been saying the same things ever since I came back from the mountains. But people were
Okay.
not listening for 9 years. But I think maybe it's also my vibe, you know.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So internally, as we evolve our vibrations, the energy we give out, the aura that we exude,
Right.
starts to become more and more subtle and powerful, and that's for me really the essence and power of being a human being. And anybody can experience this. You don't have to have some great story like my go to the mountain, meet an immortal. You can sit right in Mumbai and actually experience your boundlessness, and that's something we all need because it adds
Wow.
meaning to everything we're doing. And that's sorely missing. Dr. Viktor Frankl, this guy,
Yes.
and he said all mental diseases could be cured if we could only have meaning. And
Mhm.
I think even physical diseases can be cured if you have meaning, and that's what we do now with my whole
Right. Right.
group, my team. That's what we do.
Wow. That is powerful. So powerful. So, Ashwin, when you decided to not go to school, what was your parents' reaction? Were they okay
Oh,
with
they
it?
never came to know.
How? Oh, so you went outside. You just bunked
I, I
school.
was I was in cahoots with my grandmother on this one. So I told her,
Oh.
Granny, listen, I don't want to go to school. And
Uh,
she said, look, if you don't want to go to school, you have to earn that, okay? Because your parents are going to kill you if you don't go to school. And she was also like me, like very free spirited. So I said, so what should I do? She said, you figure it out. I said, I said, okay. It was a challenge. It's like you got permission from an adult whom you trust that you can do whatever the hell you want. So I said, all right, I'll stop going to school. And how do I do this? I started noticing when they take attendance. How do they know if I'm not there? It's the attendance.
Mhm,
Because
mhm.
when they're taking attendance, I have to be there. When
Okay.
not taking attendance, I don't have to be there. Simple, right?
Oh my God. Okay.
I'm there for the attendance, and then I would run out of the class, and then I would just go out of the gate because I made friends with the gatekeeper. I
Mm.
realized he's addicted to those tobacco packets, so I bought him a few of those, and he became my friend. So uh, he would just like quietly let me out, you know. So that's about it.
You were a true entrepreneur. You did know how to get your way out.
I was encouraged. So not everybody was so fortunate to be encouraged. So, you know, when you're a kid, you're really helpless.
Yeah, you
But
are. You
you
are.
do need an adult to stand behind you and say, this is it, go for it, you know,
Hmm.
mess it up, no problem, and I'm there for you, you know. That was my grandmother. She had my back, you know, she was my spine, she was my strength at that on those in those days.
Oh
Yeah,
my God, that's
she's no more
amazing.
now, but yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so I think the question that I have for you, you've answered a part of it already, I guess, but I would still ask you this if you have some other people.
Hmm.
Who do you think, or who would you say are your inspirations, be it your professional life or your personal life?
Oh, that they're too numerous to count, you know. I'm so influenced, I'm so blessed to have found people to look up to, and I think that's important. So starting from my own ancestor, my grandmother would tell me stories, and this is what shaped me. That I We have descended from Ekalavya on my mother's side. So are you aware of Ekalavya? He was an archer, like the world's best archer, and he became the world's best archer by mirroring the world's best archer. And I was like, how did he do that? He didn't learn under him. He made a statue of him from his own mind's vision, and he
Mm-hmm.
started mirroring that statue, and he drew the power from that person. And I'm like, how do you do this? And my granny said, you just think that you're that person, and
Oh my God. Okay.
you just like you know, we are all connected, we're all one energy, so you can just connect to that person. I'm like, really? So I started doing it with Bruce Lee, I started doing it with entrepreneurs, and one of the entrepreneurs that I deeply connected with, Roger Hamilton, I had the pleasure of meeting him, and he signed a book for me and all that when I was a kid. And then I used to write him some letters and things and whatever when I was a kid. So I learned quite a bit from so many entrepreneurs. I really looked up to entrepreneurs. I felt that these are guys solving problems. So
Mm-hmm.
more than spiritual people, but I also looked up to spiritual people, like I said, for the internal no
Exactly.
conflict. And I really respect everybody who's in the spiritual field right now, like Sri
Mm-hmm.
Ravi Shankar or
Mm-hmm.
you know, Sadhguru, or
That's
all of these
good.
people. I have, you know, a lot of people say a lot of things about these people, but I think you got to earn the right even to criticize them, because
Mm.
you know the stuff that they're doing is on another level, and even
Absolutely.
entrepreneurs cannot achieve that. So I
Correct.
started to see who's the most powerful people,
Mm.
and even some politicians have inspired me. And you know, in
Right.
history, when you read history, you get inspired, and you just like I think you shouldn't be inspired by one person, you should be inspired by everybody. Mirror them, take whatever's their strength, but don't take their weaknesses.
Hmm.
And don't judge their weaknesses, and don't say I'm better than somebody, and just keep your ego out of it. And you can easily mirror people, and you find delight and beauty in not almost in everyone you meet, without exception. Even if he's a criminal, you'll find something nice to take from it, and that's like a good place to be in. It's a powerful place to be in, where you don't have judgment. And you
Wow.
know,
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
judgment is ego.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
I
better than that, I'm better than that, and I stop that. It's so bad. Just don't
mm.
do that stuff.
And a lot of times we don't even realize that we are judging. To the world, we kind of advise and, we would say that, I'm not talking about you, you have been living a lifestyle which is different, but I'm talking about normal people. We would want to not judge, but we do that on a daily basis. I
Yeah,
think
this
in
this is
some
called but, you know.
situations,
You use the word but.
right.
This monkey of mine is called but.
Oh, is it? Actually, I
Yeah.
was supposed to ask you about him. You know why? Because I saw him in your picture, in one of your pictures, and then once you turned on your camera, I was like, oh my God, is there a significance to him?
Of course. very significant. I keep all buts outside, because I don't disagree. I don't
Oh,
disagree with people at all. So I'm like, let them talk, and let's not say but to them. I mean, I'm not saying anything that you shouldn't use the word but. I would use the word but the thing is that when it comes to judging someone, it's this word that
okay,
we are
okay,
we are only hearing what we want to say,
correct,
not able to connect to them. So that's
correct.
that's the
So,
but.
so basically, the meaning of but, you don't internalize that. It's
Yeah.
not the word, but okay,
It's not the
okay,
word we have a problem with. It's that
right.
what it does to your psyche. It divides you and pushes you into a place of judgment, a place of
Hmm,
I know this already, so I have nothing more to learn about it. It's
hmm.
a silly place to be in. As
Okay, perfect, perfect. As soon as you said about Sadhguru, I was thinking that today I think there's so much to learn from spiritual gurus. I think when I was younger, it was very difficult to relate to spiritual gurus. You wouldn't understand half the things they're saying. But especially people like Sadhguru, you, and so many other people, I think people are so relatable. I mean, when I see Sadhguru riding his bike, it's like so exciting. He
yeah,
wears
yeah,
he wears what he wants to. He talks, whatever he wants to. And you can ask him literally any question. You don't have to think of him like, oh my God, he's a guru or he's a baba. I cannot talk to him about certain subjects. In fact, that's the subject he is more than willing to talk about. You talk to him about sex, you talk to him about relationships. They're more than happy and willing. And in fact, the kind of spin he puts into it, the humor he attaches. I love watching his interviews. I love watching him talk. I think the kind of language is very simplified today than it was earlier, and that makes it easier for you to believe that yeah, you can live that life. You can imbibe those characteristics slowly and steadily. Of course, you can't be another person,
mm,
but just learn some traits and then see what works for you. What is your individuality and what feels real to you? And sometimes, I mean, I try that all the time. Sometimes it feels to me like, oh, it doesn't match my characteristic. It doesn't match my personality. Like I might look at someone and his energy levels will be up high here, and I'll be like, oh, wow, I love how he talks. I love how he brings that energy. But then I would be like, no, that's not me. I am not very subtle. I'm not when it comes to a meeting or something, but I'm not that energy either. I'm in between. So whatever I learn, I can, imbibe a few qualities that makes me what I want to be. But yeah, I try that as an experiment a lot of times. So yeah, then
you're on
I
the right track, I would say. That's great. That's wonderful.
thank you, thank you. Okay, so Ashwin, tell us about one of the moments which you would say changed your perspective towards life. I know there are going to be like thousands of moments like that, but something that comes to your mind on top of your head.
So for me, the defining moment of my life was when I started projecting astrally. I started to get out of my body,
Okay.
remove my consciousness from my body, and still be aware. Even though my body was asleep, I would learn how to step out. And that was one of the defining moments. And in one of those dreams, when at this time I had already met my teacher, but he hadn't come back for me.
Hmm, 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 hmm.
I was married at the time, and I was living in Bangalore in an apartment. Then I started. I had an experience where I was walking up the mountain. It's like a dream. It's like a lucid dream, but it's not a lucid dream. It's an astral projection. So it's an actual place on the earth somewhere. And I'm walking up this mountain, and I had to step on and cross skins and skins and skins of sadhus, both male and female. lying on the steps, and even on the corners. I made a painting of it once, all these skins hanging, and I was just climbing up, and I'm like, there's something on the top because I can see a light, and I reached there. I went past all the skins and I reached there, and at first it was blinding, and I just couldn't see what was there. But as I kept looking, it was this amazing, amazing 12-year-old girl, maybe 12, maybe 9, 10, between 9 and 12. Okay. And I've never seen a person so beautiful.
Oh,
So I knew this was not a person. This was a goddess of some kind. And then she said, do you want to teach yoga for me? And I said, yeah, sure. Why not? Because I can't say no to her. And that's when I woke up with that feeling of something very pleasant happening to my body. I smelled my arms and it was fragrant, and my entire aura had changed. Something had, I felt blessed that I have to teach, and I forgot about it. But later it came back to me that this is what I had committed to do, and I will not be happy unless I teach. So I decided to teach, and here I am teaching. So that was the most defining moment. It did not happen in my waking life. It happened in a dream or an astral projection, depending on how you look at it. So yeah.
wow.
So
Wow,
that, like I
that is,
said, everything that we do here in the physical world, it has a spiritual root. Things happen twice, they say, right? Once in your mind and once in the real world. So before they invented a self-driving Tesla car, it happened in many people's minds. My father was a scientist. He designed a cycle that can ride itself, and the same technology is being used now.
oh
in
my
Google.
gosh.
Yeah, on the
Wow.
Google campus, they use my dad's technology to drive all there. So he wrote his PhD on how a vehicle can learn how to correct itself. And those were the early days in the 80s. The technology today is real, and that's what I guess even Tesla is using, or some part of it, for the self-driving vehicles. So at some point, it was in the minds of people like my dad, and then it comes out into the world, and then it forms this reality. So everything is born inside the mind. And that's something that I deeply understand now. If I cannot conceive it in my mind, it cannot be a reality in the world.
Oh my God, this is fabulous. I love this conversation. Oh my God. Because, in my conversation with people, there's been times when uh, I've heard stories like this, which are not very easy to explain. And, the conviction with which you said that this is what happened, that's amazing. I had an experience like that, maybe on a personal chat sometime, I'll let you know. But yeah, I had something which I still don't know how to put that in words. I still don't know what really happened. But yeah, at the end of whatever happened, it was very painful, exactly opposite to how it was for you. It was very excruciating, it was very painful. But at the end of it, it came to a point where I felt like I was given all the answers to the internal conflicts that I was facing, all the questions and the confusion and the agony that I was facing of what is right and what is wrong. I just woke up and I told my mother that I feel so much powerful. I feel like now I am in a better place. I feel like I know the answers. I know all the answers. Of course, she thought that um, I had extended to, you know, it was a period where I was behaving a little weird. And now she was like, okay, now she's already gone. So yeah,
You
I
know,
put it in a
a
very
spiritual
fun.
awakening, it looks like madness to other people.
Yeah,
This is
I,
always true.
and this is and it is and now I'm saying that very in a with a humor attached to it, but to my parents it was more like, oh my god, we lost our daughter, because yeah, it was a painful journey, and then I woke up and said things that obviously they couldn't make sense of, and yeah, I had this energy where I didn't want to make sense. because it made sense to me. Because I knew what although I can't explain what I went through or what happened, but I knew that um,
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
had given me the answers to what was bothering me so badly.
Mm.
And it was something outside of me, it was something divine.
Absolutely. Because, a lot of people, they believe that logic is the biggest tool to navigate the world, but the world is not logical. Nothing's logical. But when you drop that, this intuitiveness, which is nothing to do with logic, but it's an order of its own. Intuition is an order of its own. Logic is a very superficial order that we try to think that we should understand everything logically and
Right,
everything should make sense. Doesn't really make sense some of the time
right,
to, but if you drop that, I should make sense and I should have an explanation for everything, then you start feeling. And
right.
that feeling is that intuition, which is what we should develop, not the other one, not the conscious logic, but inner
Mm-hmm.
intuition is what we should develop. People say
Wow.
right brain, left brain,
Right.
all that kind of stuff. But it's been proven that it's not the left or the right brain that processes all this. That was just a bunch of guesswork that people did, that the left brain is logical and right brain is creative. Very nice model, but it's not really how it works. So it's nothing to do with the brain even. It's consciousness. And in consciousness, we understand there is everything is taken care of. If you cut your finger now, your body will start taking care of it like nothing. If you have a small cut here, right? And the next day morning, it'll be all stitched up and healed. And you're like, what did I do? Nothing. It just happened. So there's a level of consciousness taking care of that. And
Wow.
we can become aware of it. We can start talking to it. I call it your warrior cells, your immune system. You can start talking to it. You can command it. Those warriors are just waiting for your command. You just have to tell them what to do, but they don't have a head. So imagine not having a head and not having meaning in your life and somebody not directing you to do something. So they're just going mad. And then you get autoimmune diseases, you get pollution in the planet, we spew toxins in the environment because we're not aware of what we're doing.
Oh
And
my God, I have goosebumps here with, oh my God, this is awesome. Yeah, this is
we've got to be
amazing.
conscious, right? So we've got to like get conscious of the subtle things. Every action we're conscious of the major actions we took. I woke up, I had breakfast, I went to the loo, I had a bath. These are big chunks that but what happened in between? Where's the consciousness gone? What screen are we involved in? What movie are we seeing internally as we do things automatically outside? How about we do those same things without that internal screen, and then we can actually see things and not do them like we're doing it out of a bag or through up with a bag on our head, you know? So it's nice to actually see what we're doing. What happened with that? So a person made a comment and suddenly you're uncomfortable. What's going on inside? How did this happen? And you find that you've sustained or you've been carrying around some trauma about this. You had to learn how to let it go. So
Right,
that's really what spirituality is all about. A very deeper level of awareness of what you're doing, what your body is doing too. Because whatever your body does, you get the blame or the credit. So
right.
you got to be aware what your body's doing. But most people are not aware. So
Right.
I meet people, I meet a lot of ladies with painful periods because they don't know what's going
Mhm.
on in the uterus. They have no idea.
Right.
And they're not consciously menstruating. But I teach some of my students to do that. You can
Mhm.
actually consciously menstruate. And they don't have pain the next cycle. And they're like, what did you do? I didn't have any pain. I'm like, wait, just because you didn't have any pain, it's not time to go to workouts and whatever, right? Just sit there and watch it and see what happens. Hey, you're
Mhm.
blessed to have this period. Just go through it watchfully, and then things will happen. For me, even men have cycles. You've got to be aware of it.
Right.
And there is hormonal cycles that we have, up, down, what's going on. It's beautiful if you start paying attention. And there's a whole internal world. It's like a sea. It's an unexplored sea that nobody even knows. It's
Oh,
always looking outside, so busy, so tired because Their influence outside is very less. But do you know you're the absolute lord of the inside?
Mm.
Nobody knows this. And so they have all these mystery illnesses because they're not the absolute lord of their insides.
Oh my God, this is fantastic. This is really fantastic. Wow. So if I have to put it in simple words and put it in one sentence, what you are saying is that you are completely in control
Yeah.
of your body, your illnesses. You can totally take control of it at any point of time.
Your body, your energy, and your mind are completely in your control.
Wow. And you can reform it, reshape it at any point of time. You can take control of it and then
Even the bad stuff happening to your body, it's happening because of a memo that you sent. There's a constant Twitter feed of, and it's being updated, or everyone is getting this memo.
wow.
Every cell is getting this memo. But if the memo is going automatically, then your body makes stupid stuff like cancer, and it makes things inside that you don't want inside because you're not
Oh my
aware.
God. Wow, this is fantastic. Wow, amazing. All right. So Ashwin, now tell me, which is the one skill do you like the most about yourself? I don't know if you want to redefine the skill as something else, that's fine too. But one special something about you.
The most important thing is intuition
Hmm.
that I have highly developed. So today somebody called me and said, my grandmother's on the deathbed, and can you do something? I don't want her to suffer. So I just got the intuition that she's gonna die this afternoon and nothing's gonna happen. I said she won't suffer anymore. Her time is really close. And that's what happened. She passed away at 1 o'clock today. And they were so relieved because they didn't want her to suffer, And this is a girl who's my student. And she was so wrapped up in this that she couldn't concentrate on her life. And suddenly she's like, wow, I just feel so peaceful. I just felt that she went consciously. And, I said, yeah, because you became conscious,
Hmm.
especially when someone's dying and stuff like that. People lose their mind. They don't know what to
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
They're so
yeah.
afraid
You
of
want
it.
to control it and you want to change that.
Yeah.
And in that time, at that point of time, you tend to forget that it's inevitable.
It's not inevitable because my guru's been alive for like 1,800 years. And so there's a
God.
society of immortals in the mountains who I met. And all of them have been alive for a very long time and they look young and they have the youthfulness. So I learned all these. That's what I meant by schools of immortality.
Right.
You can really preserve your body when you occupy it, when you really have, you know what's happening everywhere. Yeah, so that's important. You don't have to go and visit every nook and corner. You can get reports, right? Ambani doesn't know what's happening in his whole house because
Right.
it's so big and he's got a zoo and there's got so many animals and what about their health and but he gets reports from the heads and he knows if he's got to command or send a different memo for something to happen. You're that Ambani of your body, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
If your body is Antilla, then you're the Ambani of it. So you get to call the shots. Everything happens because of uh, you know, your command there. And we really need that. We need that. So that intuition, for me, intuition is the biggest thing. So intuition is actually not randomness. Your unconscious mind has the capacity, and we don't know how it has the capacity, but it has the capacity to compare files that it has stored and information that it's stored, not only from when you were born, but even from before you were born. From the beginning of the universe, your consciousness has existed. And your unconscious mind has all of that stored, all of that information stored, and access to it. And it has access even to every other unconscious mind. And there's actually just one unconscious because there's no unconscious doesn't feel that I am. It's
Hmm.
the conscious mind that feels that I am. So you just get rid of that I amness. And now you're in the sea of intuition. You're in a sea of information that you know and you don't know how you know it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's my
Wow.
greatest power.
Oh my
Intuition.
God. Yeah. Okay. I get that. Wow. That's beautiful. That's amazing. So, Ashwin, What traits do you think a strong human should possess? How do you define being a strong human?
So in the Upanishads, I found a very good definition of what is strength. It's the health of all five bodies. So we're said to have five bodies. One is our physical body, which is called Annamaya Kosha, the food-loving body. Okay,
Mm.
and that's our body because it's made up of food. So it's so funny. I scolded my sambar yesterday.
You scolded your sambar
Yeah,
yesterday?
it started burning for no reason, and I'm like, "Why are you burning, man?" And
Okay.
I gave it a piece of my mind, saying, "Come on, you're going to become everybody's body, so behave yourself." And it did some Control Z on that, and,
Okay.
and the smell went away. And people who ate it were like, "What am I eating? It's so good." So anna or food is conscious, and we don't realize it. And we're not just eating fuel because people think of it like petrol in their car. That's what they think of food as. The better
Right.
quality petrol, the car is going to run better. Not like that, because there's also a message in the food.
Hmm.
The
Okay.
food is a whole lot of information as well as to how your cell should behave. So what you eat is of very high importance. Like it should not have, there's something called messenger RNA running in the food. That's a conscious part of the food. And that messenger RNA is always telling you what's going on in that food because the food is a living being. And it's got messenger RNA running around telling it how it should be. Should I be fearful? Should I be, peaceful? What should I be? So if you're eating food that is fearful, you're going to take that fear inside you, and that's the message going to run around. So you've got to change that. And food is very conscious even after it's killed and when it's being cooked as well. It's got prana. Okay, so even rice is being killed, by the way. It's a seed, it's a living thing. So when you cook it, it gets killed, but still its RNA continues inside, mRNA continues inside. And when you eat it, you can get it. Just because it's cooked doesn't mean it stopped relaying information. Food is alive. And that's what this body is made of. So you should start caring about what you eat and how you exercise. And then comes the prana or the energy. Energy is controlled by our emotions. If you don't have a cutoff that, this is the range I want to be in, my range of energy is this much. Higher energy. I don't want to be low. Some people get high. That's they think they're high, but they're actually low. When you take drugs and you get high, it's actually going low. You know,
Right. Right.
the word alcohol comes from alghul, which means the ghost or the devil or whatever. You know,
Oh, okay.
so alghul is like, that's what alcohol is. It helps you to get into lower realms and it opens you out to a different kind of consciousness. It's also you, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the lower part of you. So you don't want to, that's why that's expressed by the system of chakras in yoga. And there are 9 chakras, 9 orbits which you can occupy, and your whole job is to keep yourself in the higher orbits, not in the lower orbits. So that is when you're in the higher orbits emotionally, your prana flows like anything. Your energy is too much, physical energy is too much, your emotional energy is too much, mental energy is too much, your aura is too much. It just like it goes and influences everything around it. So that's your pranamaya kosha. Okay, that's your life-loving body, or it's the body that gets triggered when you have good emotions. Then you can call it also the emotional body. And then there is the mental body, where you have your mind and you have your consciousness, you have calculations, you have logic, you have memories. It's the memory loving body. It's got a lot of memories, lots of them. You don't even know you have them, but then suddenly they'll come up when
Hmm.
when you see it. And I've cured so many people of phobias. Phobias are just bad memories that keep coming up and saying, "Oh, whoa, it's dangerous. Remember last time? Don't do this. It's not good." So that's what phobia is. So that's the mental body. So the mind loving body, the memory loving body, you've got to have loving memories inside, and not like doomsday messages that the world is ending with global warming. If you're going to carry that inside you, you're going to
Right.
be, you're going to be sick. You're not going to
Right.
be
Right.
strong.
Right. Absolutely. I
Maybe it's true. Maybe
yeah,
it's true, but that's reality
it
of
is true. But that reality is not helping. basically.
Yeah.
Does
So it
that make
started in
sense?
someone's mind. All the mess we made has started in someone's mind. You want to
Hmm.
clean it up, you clean up your mind first. Then the outside also will get cleaned up. Slowly and slowly. It didn't happen overnight. The
Right,
mess didn't happen overnight. The cleanup's not going to happen overnight. And you need to have patience. So that's the mental body.
right, right,
I
right.
think the biggest quality of mental body is patience. It takes all the stories, stitches it together, and then it gives you a timeline on how things are going to happen. So your timeline is on your mental body. People with a sorted out timeline of what's going to happen next, they're the ones not afraid. But
Hmm.
everybody else with randomness and they're not really sure where they're going and what's the meaning of their life, they're of course affected. And then there's another body, which is Vijnanamaya Kosha, it's the inventive body. It invents new things. It invents solutions. You can call it the solution body. That needs to be in really good health. And finally, there's another body which is called the meaning body, the Anandamaya Kosha, because real joy, Ananda, is different from pleasure. Yeah,
Hmm.
pleasure is short-lived. It feels good for a while, and then the moment it's gone, you feel bad again. It's like smoking a cigarette. You
Right.
you get high for a few minutes and then you fall down again. It's not really joy, but joy is highly sustainable. It's a very precious energy, and this is the joy-loving body which comes from meaning. When I'm doing something meaningful and I'm making a difference and it's impacting so many people, then I feel happy. That's important. It's not
Right.
about yourself. It's not about your survival. It's about what you're doing in the world. What is your work in this world? So that body also needs to be healthy. So you got it. There are five bodies. There's a food loving body. You got to take care of it, exercise, diet, sleep on time, rest, everything. And there's another body, emotions. You don't go below a certain level of emotion.
Hmm.
Don't do that. You operate on the higher chakras. And then there's the mental body, which is all about having the right kind of memories and making the right kind of timeline for you, for yourself. And then there's the inventiveness body, that's where all your creativity comes from. The Vijnanamaya Kosha. You've got to keep that healthy too. And the final one is the body of meaning. So you've got to have it full of meaning. So if you're able to do this, you'll become immortal. You don't die.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That is amazing. And yeah, some of the stories and some of the experiences and some of the things that you've shared, I think, just marvelous. I mean, that this, I think if you kind of dig deeper into it, each and everything is a huge book in itself. And thank you so much for sharing all of that information. And I'm so glad Sainath found you. I don't know from where he found you, but I'm glad I got to talk to you and have this beautiful conversation and discussion. Thank you so much for being with us.